I'm going to share my very first owner financing property because I really think you guys will get a kick out of this. So my very first deal was a 22 unit apartment building, and it was $975,000. That's the one I got. And I was kind of excited about it. It wasn't really the biggest deal in my career, but it was owner financing. And if you've never bought an apartment building before, or any real estate before, owner financing is kind of the holy grail to investors. And it isn't because the rates are so good. It's actually because the paperwork is light. It's easy to get approved. There really is no appraisal, not that I've ever heard of. I'm sure there can be if you're doing certain deals, and a lot of it is streamlined, and it really does not take nearly as long to close as a typical transaction is. So, how did I find this deal? I went to a RIA, to a real estate investment group, which actually, if you follow my work, you know that I designed a course showing you what I do to find property. And this is all stuff that I do in my business every single day. And that's one of those things on there. So I went to a RIA group, and there was a guy there, and he was a residential real estate agent, and he had known about, I think his friend's dad had owned this property. And I think the story was it's getting really old. We've all heard these stories before. He's owned it for 25 years. He's ready to let go. Anyway, I had never done an owner financing deal. I've only heard about it at this time. So I said, okay, I'm interested. And I didn't even know really about apartments. I really wasn't skilled in knowing what the deal is and what it wasn't. Looking back now, that property was worth maybe $850,000. I paid $975,000. Now, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just saw the deal. I said, okay, the cash flow looks good on this. After analyzing it through what I thought was analyzing it, I was great. But let me tell you about how I got it. I had an investor who wanted to partner up with me, and I think he had about 100 grand. It was a little more than 100. I think it was like 110. And he, for whatever reason, backed out 11th hour. So I had gone to this property owner who had the 22 unit building, and I had disclosed the information of, look, I have a partner. He's got 100 grand. I'd like to put this down. You finance the remaining balance, which was 875. Well, I had to call him 2 days later and tell him, listen, I don't have any money because my financial partner doesn't want to be involved in this anymore. And that was a very difficult phone call for me because I was so excited. I didn't want to lose this deal. And the issue I found is it's very hard to scramble and come up with 100 grand if you don't have a network, if you don't have a track record of stuff that you've done. It's very difficult to have someone take a chance on you. So I was disappointed. I told this seller, look, I'm really sorry. I did have my license. I said, look, I'll help you sell it. You don't even have to pay me a huge commission. I'll definitely do it. I feel like I owe you that. And he actually surprisingly said, look, why don't you take this deal and don't give me any money? You just pay for all the costs that you want to incur. The inspection fees, I had to pay for a couple other things. I didn't pay any money. I paid nothing, zero down, which I thought was the greatest thing ever. The only thing I didn't know is I had to make payments weekly. Now, when your very first owner financing deal, you don't know all these particulars. Like there's a lot of things I would negotiate now, where back then I had no idea. And there wasn't really an owner financing expert or someone I can talk to. So to keep numbers simple, I had to pay this gentleman $1,000 a week. So every week I'd have to pay him, every Friday. Now, that was partly because he was doing weekly rentals and he kind of got used to that income. But I wanted to change things around. I really wanted to get everybody on a monthly deal. So initially it was tough because I'd have to pay him every single week. Every single week I'd have to pay on that note. Took me till about 3 months till I got most of the tenants out of there into a monthly deal. But my agreement with him was still for every week. So I had to keep that up for a little bit. And I think I got him out of there in about 9 months. 9 months, maybe it could have been 10. 9 months into the deal, I was able to refinance the deal. I wasn't able to pull any cash out. I was just doing rate and term. But the money that I did pull out, I was able to get him out. And that worked out pretty good for me. And eventually, we had such a great relationship, and he's an investor in a few of my projects, which is really, really interesting. So I want to tell you guys that because just because you see a property, and let's say it's $500,000, don't think that you need 20% down or 5% down or 10% down. You can actually do a deal with zero money out of pocket. You just need to know what the other person wants. The other person has a property that's worth $500,000, but you're telling them, hey, listen, I'll give you $600,000 and I'll pay you weekly and I'll do this and I'll do that and whatever. Number one, that's collateral they already have, they already own, they're familiar with it. There's nothing else they're really comfortable about owning. Number two, they're making pretty decent money on your deal. If they were going to sell that in the open market, on the retail market, they probably won't do that. Now you want to do this for two reasons. Number one, you want to do it for cash flow. If you have enough cash flow into the deal, you're okay. You can ride out that wave. If it's kind of a tight cash flow deal, but you know you can turn this thing around and get a value add play, that's also something very good. And that will open a lot of doors for you. It really will. It'll get you in the deal. Your first deal may not be a home run. And I see a lot of investors I talk to, they're very, very picky, very particular. Your first deal is not going to be your best deal. It's not likely. It can happen, but it's probably not the way it's gonna go down. So never lose hope of, I don't have enough money down, I can't work out the terms. Give you guys another way to structure it. Let's say you only have $50,000 and it's a $500,000 deal. Rather than giving someone 10% at closing, I have done a few times where you can say, listen, I'll give you $20,000 at closing, I'll give you another $20,000 in 3 months, and then I'll give you the remaining in 6 or 9 months. Let me just get this property up and going. And I've talked about this before. In an owner financing deal, that owner can structure the terms however he wants. There really is no bank, there's no other party. The appraisal, like I mentioned, is irrelevant. It's what we both agree we're going to pay for this property. And a lot of times I found with these older owners, I mean, some of these guys, 60s and 70s, they really don't want to turn their property around. They're done. They've already had enough of it. They just want that cash flow stream, right? They're going to live a little longer. They want to have a little more cash for their retirement. So find what that other person wants. And if you need more creative ways to do it, definitely reach out to me. It's something I really specialize in. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. That's all I got for you. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, send me questions, comments. I love answering them. Thank you so much for watching.